Welcome. It's Facts You Don't Know. If it's your first time here and you want to find out new facts that will definitely make you smarter and more, well, and first make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything.
Don Martin Angel climbed the mud. He was 67 years old, responsible and diligent, a leader by nature. Since his youth, he worked in an insurance company in the city. However, the circumstances of life, painful and beyond the will of any human being on earth, caused that natural glow that characterized him to diminish its radiance. His 90-year-old mother had passed away from cancer just 2 weeks ago. Naturally, he went into a depression, being an attentive and loving son with his mother, whom he accompanied as long as he could while he was not working. It was not for B. Lowry. He would get home around 6 in the afternoon, after a long bus ride from the company to his home. He would sit in front of his old television, turn it on, and not even watch anything. Sometimes he thought he heard his mother's voice from inside the kitchen, but it was just his imagination, and the deep shock that the feeling of missing her caused in his heart. Nothing could be sadder for an old man without company in complete solitude. He had no children because he never married, although he did have a beautiful girlfriend who, tired of his indecision of not wanting to formalize the relationship, abandoned him. All his life, he dedicated his studies and a job that would allow him insurance for when he retired, to be able to live a peaceful old age. Or so he thought. With all his sadness, the old man hunched over was doing his best to report to work. He was the one who arrived the earliest, and since he was on his computer, he didn't stop working on what to focus on. Well, if Don Martin had something, it was that he loved and recognized him for the true professional for which he worked. He had few friends in his circle, but generally the majority there admired him. In the company, 2 months ago, after the death of Teresa, Don Martin's mother, there had been strange changes in the organization chart. A new manager was in the position. His name was Michael Sotomayor, a broad, tall, handsome man who drew the attention of women who saw him. He brought with him a large number of graduate degrees and an excellent work record. He'd operated other important companies in the country, obtaining successful results for him. He was actually a very qualified and valued manager, but they say that nothing perfect exists in this life. He stood out as a leader in his field, but his human warmth left much to be desired. Actually, he didn't. He was completely rude. He thought that anyone who didn't agree with his ideas should be humiliated and disqualified. He had made more than one of his assistants cry during the meetings and sent the young interns running, claiming that providing financial assistance hindered the growth of the company and decreased the numbers that could be used in other investments. In the company, a kind of hatred and love for him was generated, as there were those who shared his radical point of view and others simply kept silent so as to not lose their position. Don Martin, being a wise man, only observed from afar, without emitting any type of opinion, although other companions asked him. As the saying goes, no flies enter a closed mouth, and it's not always good. Sometimes silence is the best ally. One afternoon when he was leaving work, Don Martin went to the store for coffee and bread for dinner. From a distance, he saw an old woman in a wheelchair, approached her and helped her lower the box of milk that she was trying to get with a nearby gondolier. But because his voice was so weak, the young man couldn't hear it. When he saw her eyes, he was freeze. Her face was almost familiar. He was trying to remember where he knew that face from, until among all the confusion, he came to the conclusion that the old woman was very similar to his mother. "Good afternoon. Mother Sia needs something else." "Oh, son, thank you very much. The night's already solved me. I insist I can stay until you've bought everything." "Why would you do something like that for me?" "Actually, Donna excuse me. Her name is Carmina Gomez, called me, but my friends call me Cammy." "Nice. I'm old Martin." And as he was beginning to say, it was a very long story, but I can assure you that we'll be friends. "Are you always this mysterious?" the old woman asked. "I'll tell you the truth. Who knows? A few months ago my mother died, and when I saw you, you came to me in her image." As she said this, old Martin's eyes began to water and his voice break. They didn't have that much time to speak because at that moment, the young nurse who was taking care of Donna Cammy appeared and took her back home. Then Martin asked her to allow her to see again. She accepted, and they arranged to meet in the supermarket cafeteria the next day. On Monday, Don Martin, as usual, was very punctual at 7 in the morning, going through the glass doors of the building. When he got to his desk, he saw an envelope. Intrigued, he quickly set about reading it. It was his letter of dismissal. His companions, surprised, saw how the old man vanished and approached to help him. Nobody could believe it. Don Martin was furious and stormed into the arrogant Michael's office. "Sir, can you give me a moment?" Don Martin said. "Ahead. May I know why you're firing me? I've certainly gone through your latest reports and there's a clear mismatch, and we lost a lot of money this month as a result." "That's impossible. I check everything before delivering it. There must be a mistake, sir." "Are you telling me that I'm a fool who doesn't know what he's saying?" "No, sir, I don't mean to be disrespectful." "Then listen to me and leave now. You're totally unfit for your position. It simply no longer serves us." Don Martin was heartbroken. 40 years he'd given himself to that corporation and they paid him in that way, throwing him out on the street without having reached the retirement goal he so badly needed. He immediately packed his things in a box and staggered down the stairs. Some colleagues wanted to come over to say goodbye and comfort him, but the arrogant boss from above disapproved of their intentions. He walked and came to the park. To his surprise, there was an old lady, Carmina, reading a book by a bench. She looked at him from afar and, with a tender smile, indicated him to come closer. "Martin, son, you're good?" "Well, to be honest, Dona Carmina, not really. I've just been fired from the company in which I've worked for 40 years. I recently lost my mom, and what will become of me? I'm already an old man, and no one will want to give me a job." "Why did you get fired? Did you make a mistake?" "Not to be blunt, my boss simply told me that I no longer served him." "But what is being so despicable, your boss? Don't be discouraged. Come to my house. Join me for dinner." In this way, both followed Carmina's case. Don Martin was surprised to observe how large and luxurious the old woman's house was. He didn't expect such a thing, because Dona Carmina was a very simple woman with extremely humble manners. In the living room, there was a huge dining room full of dishes, salads, and desserts that would satisfy Martin's appetite. We had a whole day without trying anything. At the table, they were waiting for the missing family member, Dona Carmina's son, to start eating. And Don Martin was very curious to meet the boy that the old woman had also told him about. The keys rang. The house was flooded with a fine perfume. The son was entering, and to Don Martin's fright, it was Michael Sotomayor, the man who had fired him. "What's this useless old man doing here, Mom?" the arrogant fellow said in a forceful voice. "The hell's wrong with you, Michael?" the old woman said sadly. But Don Martin interrupted the lady and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Michael, I'm also leaving here." At that moment, Dona Carmina understood that her son was the chief despot who had fired Martin from one of her companies. Well, the lady was the majority shareholder of the same. She owned that and other companies. So she was furious with her son because she felt ashamed of his attitude. Dona Carmina was a woman with a noble heart. She had taught the gift of humility and humanism to her son for years now. But now she realized that all her effort had been in vain, and she was utterly disappointed in him. "Martin," said the old woman, "go home and report normally to your work tomorrow. You will continue in the company. Please, I apologize on behalf of my son, who clearly has not forged the gift of humility in his being." Michael lowered his head, not knowing what to do. He knew his mother was stern when she spoke in that tone, so he just kept quiet. Don Martin couldn't believe it. That noble old woman had brought him back to life, and her joy was more than evident. She looked at that lady with tears in his eyes and remembered his mother again. "Thank you very much," he said between sobs. So many more years passed, and Don Martin felt blessed to have a second mother, since they continued to see each other in that park where they had met. Dona Carmina spoke, and Don Martin listened attentively to everything that humble old woman said. Without a doubt, life rewards noble hearts, and through them allows us to learn great lessons. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks. We'll be right back to you as fast as we can.